Alright, so then Mion, who was actually Shion, heard where the body was from Mio, and then went to grab it and then move it somewhere else so it wouldn't be left as dumb fucking evidence. And then they tried to get Keiichi in on it like they did in Chapter 1, but he's too thick-headed to understand it when they're using subtext. So instead, he assumes that everything must be his fault. Which it is in this case, but not in the way he's imagining it. And then, that's all I got. I don't know, man. As I was saying during the middle of, like, in between recording, I'm like, maybe I should just let this chapter play out before thinking about it more, because I'm so far off base with what I was imagining that I don't feel like I have anything useful to think about at the moment. But
time to just stop thinking and accept what's put before you?
That's not what I said.
I know it isn't.
Then why would you... Never mind. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that, but I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Sadako had said, I'd failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much, no matter what strange natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Sadako, I became a demon, and this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I'd fallen into the demon world. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Sadako's uncle, then it would have been fine. Since Sadako's uncle was still alive, still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. One more time.
One more roll.
No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over again until Sadako was liberated. Except he's not there anymore. Here's the thing, is that the police wouldn't have followed Keiichi out to that point unless they had assumed Sadako's body was to be found there.
Sadako's body?
Not Sadako's body. Sadako's uncle's body. They have reason to believe Sadako's uncle is dead. They were watching the place and he never came back. They think he's dead. I had already awoken. I looked at the clock to see that it was early in the morning, just about 5. It was already light outside. Once I'd hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my whole body teeming with the awakened power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I would do it. I got myself up. The exhaustion from the past 2 days was completely swept away, and I didn't even feel sleepy anymore either. I slowly rose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. As I got dressed, I let my mind wander, and had a strange thought. These 2 days, while I've said it was for Sadako's sake, the only thing on my mind has been killing. I've said it was for Sadako, but while actually carrying out the act, I'd completely forgotten about her, albeit only temporarily. Maybe initially it was for her sake, but now it was just a demon killing for the sake of killing. And as a result, I'd sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it was the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Sadako, became a demon, and disappeared from the sunlit Hinamizawa, vanishing into the demon world, which meant that after all was said and done, I had met the same fate as him. Because I am Satoshi Tojo. I don't know, man. I tried to avoid making the same mistakes, but it happened anyway. Which meant that maybe Satoshi was here. Satoshi had come to this world a year before me, so he would be here somewhere. And then, surprised, I stopped walking. There was the second set of footsteps I'd grown so used to hearing. Could you be Satoshi? The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer. But I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi had stuck with me the whole time. Well, let's go, Satoshi. Once more. And this time we'll set Sadako free for sure. I quietly slipped out of the house so my parents wouldn't notice. They caught me now when I'd been out way too late for 2 days now. They'd give me a really angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today I would put an end to it. The dead body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes and make them take them with me so I could kill him again, and every time he resurrected, I would do it again. I'd kill him again, and this time I'd set her free. Outside, the morning light was so beautiful as to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons with which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it did not matter to me. Right now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd shown up at the festival and had fun even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and that other, Keiichi Maebara. Even without me, he'd fill in. I could vanish from Hinamizawa without anyone noticing. So basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Keiichi Maebara would remain. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Sadako's sake, then it was just that part of my duty as her Nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough. Oh, this one is scary. Let's go with this. It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood. Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. Couldn't exactly take it out in public like that, so I wrapped it a little in some old newspaper and tossed it into the basket on my bike. Sorry for using you for evil all the time. I'll need you again today, my legs. I apologized to my bike for some reason. For the past 3 days, I've only used it for dangerous things. I'd been riding this bike ever since I lived in my old town. I could walk most places I wanted to go, so I still hadn't used it all that much. My mom had bought it for me when I entered cram school. I think it would be a convenient way to get to the station since it was far away, so I'd always used it to get back and forth from cram school. I'd only ever put textbooks and class materials in the front basket, too. Never tried to put a hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in there. When it came to Hinamizawa, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever and had some of the greatest times ever. And those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish that I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life to do it. That's how fun those times had been. I killed someone. And now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder was a crime. I didn't ever believe that people should think murder was okay, but still, the times I had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. My friends were irreplaceable, and the time spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking one another, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime, as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yes, this was a value I'd decided to uphold. It wasn't something I learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I chose for myself. Back to when I'd first come to Hinamizawa. About how on the very first day, Sadako had welcomed me via a blackboard eraser with a rock in it. That welcome really surprised the heck out of me. She would laugh, get angry, cry, and she was never boring. She was obviously the most childlike one among us. Doot, doot, doot.
When the imposter is sus.
Cut to Sadako just do a Fortnite dance. But she was actually lively, full of vim and vigor, and good at meddling in other people's affairs. That went for Mio and Rena and Rika-chan, too. Wasn't Sadako the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Sadako would try to look cool. Then Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Then Sadako would cry, which would put Rena in a state of ecstasy. Rika-chan would be greatly delighted. And I happened to get mixed up in it. We would always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was the worst, it would have been Sadako. Her smile was everyone's smile. And ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. And for the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying. It was just like when I was silently going to cram school every day just to maintain my unchanging test scores. So basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. In that case, I was her knight, searching for the dragon's castle in order to win her smile back. Knights, of course, would use swords. The awesome two-handed kind. I'm probably the only knight in the history of the world to be taking someone on with a thick, rusty hatchet. Then I saw an old person in the ridge of a field waving to me.
Oh my, Keiichi-kun, out for a morning ride, I see.
Good morning! I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. Should I really have been feeling so happy waving like that? Sadako's house would be right past this road, going beyond the rice paddies. The cicadas had woken up, too, and the next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus. Gave myself a hit or two in the head and drove away my merry morning mood. I took a deep breath, tilted my head back, quelling my pointless excitement. The body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing him had been an illusion, or that I'd killed him and he'd risen from the dead. If I was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. But it being an illusion was just impossible. I killed him without a doubt. Without a doubt. If that had been an illusion, then that would make all of this Hinamizawa I was in right now an illusion. If that was the case, then here's how it would end up. I was actually in a vegetative state due to a traffic accident and was currently daydreaming in a hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in rice paddies like these. That was a terrifying thought, though. This wasn't an illusion. The only possible answer was that he'd resurrected. I don't think so. I don't think so, buddy, but you know.
Master of false dichotomies.
Yeah, he's really good at that. I also don't think RO7 would pull I've been in a coma the whole time dreaming thing. It's just not as satisfying. It would make him a literal monster. But if he was such a monster, then I was no less a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone, and I could even wield curses. Takano-san had died probably because I'd cursed her. Or maybe that was a little much. Coach and Oishi died too, like I'd cursed them too yesterday, then I'd believe it. Set my bicycle aside and went to take a look. His motorbike wasn't there. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down to hell that night, throwing it into the Onagafuchi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't here. Maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either. The fact that his bike wasn't here might have been because he had gone into town and hadn't come back. Not necessarily because I'd thrown it into the swamp. If her uncle wasn't around, then that was convenient on its own. Then I would just show myself in, wait for him to return, and sharpening my hatchet. If he was there. Forgotten sensations came back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison dulling my actions, but could also be the trigger to allow me to awaken my superhuman, otherworldly self. I held the hatchet still wrapped in newspaper. Its weight in my hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I hadn't put on my watch, so I didn't know what time it was, but it was probably still a little before 7. Sadako would probably be awake, preparing breakfast and her lunch, but her uncle would probably be still lazing around in bed. A guy like him probably would have stayed up late drinking and probably always slept until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Sadako open the door for me, but if her uncle woke up at the sound, I'd waste my chance of him still being asleep. If Sadako saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I ran into her, then what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet? No, I couldn't do that. That would be like making Sadako responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside. Maybe that would do it. How would Sadako react to that? She'd probably try and get me to give up on killing him. I would have to lie somehow to get her to go outside. Sadako didn't need to know that a murder was going to occur in this house. Couldn't quite think of a good lie to tell her, but I couldn't do much just standing around like this. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob, then slowly turned it and pulled. It wasn't locked. The gap between the door and the wall steadily grew larger. The chain wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life in Sadako's house hit me. At the entrance there were a few pairs of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not just by looking at them. Could hear a television on somewhere. The television was in the messy dining room. There was food scattered about the table, giving an impression decidedly different from a happy family's mealtime. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it, meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. No one in sight. No sign of anyone either. But with the television on, he must have been close. Could he have anticipated my coming and being hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight that I thought it would choke me. The newspaper wrapping the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper its power at all. I tightened my grip on it, then very carefully took a look around. Where are those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling up on my brow got on my nerves. And then I looked at the table and realized something. This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all hard and dried up. Then, was it last night's dinner? I left the dining room, keeping vigilant, went down the hallway and found the stairs to the second floor. Where that man was playing with his friends, he looked out of the second-story window. It's highly possible that room was his own and that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edges of the stairs, quietly climbing without making a sound. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. Or I didn't hear anything up there. I went through a few rooms, slowly and quietly opening the paper doors, checking inside, but I still couldn't find anyone around. To search more efficiently, I got down on the floor and pressed my ear right up to it. I could hear the television in the dining room and a low hum, perhaps boiling water. It was then that I started to harbor some feelings of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for no one to be around this early in the morning. I silently descended the stairs and went back to the dining room. Looked at the food scattered about. Completely dried up rice, an overturned bowl of miso soup, the package for a side dish bought at the supermarket. I could tell Sadako had definitely been the one who made this. The food was far from Mion's perfection or Rena's gentleness, but it was sincere. And judging by how she cooked for me at my house, and from the type and amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night. The number stamped into the food package read 830620, June 20th, 1983. That was yesterday, and there was food for two, which meant that this was last night's dinner, and Sadako's uncle would have been here then. Or Sadako still hadn't known what was happening and was still trying... Or Sadako had just set up dinner assuming he might be back that night. Huh. Yeah. Stop it, Keiichi. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, her uncle was here last night. That much was certain. He found fault with Sadako's food, thrown the bowl of miso soup, and flung the rest everywhere. Hidden deep within my feelings of calm and composure was a lit flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? Heard the sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler. But where's it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe? I could hear the noise coming from the other side of the frosted glass at the far end of the changing room. Had to have been the sound of the water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass door, and the heat from it was leaking into the changing room where I was standing, too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. If one did, it would mean that in this house time had been stopped ever since some moment last night. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been active this whole time. Checked in the clothing basket and saw Sadako's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it, certainly not something she could wear today. Probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. Looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything at all through the steam. And then an electric surge ran through my mind, and a terrible premonition came over me. Could she... She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That would be impossible, but no! In Hinamizawa right now, nothing was impossible. I gulped audibly and quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot, steaming air burst out of the slight opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it went completely white with steam. Just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cooler air also flowed into the room with the bath. And I just heard, due to being hit by that air, a very weak moan. And that's all I needed to know who it was. Sadako! No answer. Sadako was in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. The top half of her body was leaning over the edge of the tub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making a whistling noise as if angered. I could see the gas flame through a small window, but it was roaring at full force, completely blue. Sadako's entire body was boiled red and flaccid, as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll as she laid there unconscious. I wasn't sure how many seconds passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came back to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler, and then I dragged Sadako's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot in the water in public baths. Was she boiling in this water for the entire night? She'll die! She'll die! Her body was lighter than I'd expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went back to the bathroom and opened up the vent, creating a path for a cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Sadako moaned again. It'll be alright, Sadako! It's me, Keiichi! Do you understand? Can you hear me? Keiichi-san. Sadako recognized me and muttered a response, but couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and unfocused. I could tell she wasn't completely conscious. Did Sadako try to kill herself? Upon closer inspection, her limbs and waist were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this heat stroke? Think, what would the teacher do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer during a marathon in gym class or something? Turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way on and soaked a towel in it. I then took the cold towel and pressed it to Sadako's forehead. She reacted harshly to the coldness and let out a muffled voice. For burns, right, you would soak the burn spot under running water. And I could run cold water in the shower and cool her off like that? No, if it was that sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart and she'd go into shock. I think I read that once before. This was about as much nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur. What happened, Sadako? You're all right now. Your Nini will save you for sure. 5,039. 5,000. 40. What was Sadako reciting under her breath? I brought my ear to her mouth to better make out the mysterious spell-like words she kept saying. And at that moment I understood what they were for. Sadako, you're counting? Why? People tell kids in the bath to count to 100 a lot, right? Sadako is counting like that, but 5,039? You moron, how long were you supposed to count in your own bathtub? 10,000. I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. 10,000? You're a freaking idiot. What kind of dumbass can count to 10,000? There's no way you could do that. You'd boil to death before you got that far. Why were you... My... uncle. Last night, I assume, her uncle flew into a rage at the dinner she'd made, saying it stunk and wasn't edible. Sadako didn't understand what on earth he meant. Wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetables she'd brought in particular. Her uncle then decided the stink was originating from Sadako and shouted at her that she never ever took baths. And then he put Sadako in the boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted 2. Ugh! I'll kill you! Ugh! I snapped and exploded, raising the newspaper-wrapped hatchet as stampeded through the house. I searched for anything, traces, signs, smells, vibrations, heartbeats. And with a war cry, I raced up the stairs with such force I could have stomped a hole through them. And then I found the futon in the room I thought to be her uncle's. And well aware he wasn't sleeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I'll bust the entire closet down, door and all. And if he's not there, maybe there's a secret door. And he switches our levers in the walls here. I smashed into wall after wall with the hatchet, crushing them. Dust rose into the air and broken pieces scattered about the floor. Yeah, this is gonna help.
Yeah.
This is helpful, Keiichi.
Definitely gonna make things better.
This makes things so much better. Good job saving Sadako. Not a good job with whatever this is. I smashed all the glass windows too for good measure. After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and suppressed my emotions. Anyway, her uncle wasn't in the house right now. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now I had to do something about Sadako. Went back to the changing room. Sadako was still lying limp on the floor. There's nothing more an amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Kocha treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in a mental hospital. Never wanted to see his damn face again, but I still needed to go to the infirmary one more time. Needed to have a doctor look at Sadako. I thought about putting her in the dirty uniform lying in the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so that would be pretty difficult. Oh, shit. I don't have time to be wasting here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in her bath towel. The clinic was close enough to Sadako's house. It'd be way faster to carry her there than to call 119 and get an ambulance. If I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand. Are you able to stand, Sadako? I'll carry you over to the clinic.
Thank you.
Her words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief just knowing she'd improved even a little bit. Sadako turned over so she was lying on her face and then put up a weak struggle to get up on a knee. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put her on seemed like it was about to fall off.
This towel. It hurts.
We'll be there soon. It won't be long, so stay strong. It didn't hurt one bit to carry Sadako. She was light, too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside it had gotten hotter, as though eager to attack Sadako. Those fucking cicadas. Why did I have to choose this morning to get so hot out? I didn't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Sadako on my back, I broke into a trot. Well, I think that explains what one of those tips was at the end of the last chapter.
Perhaps so.
But who said that to Sadako? Is it like she is still having visions of her uncle? Is that still haunting her? Or did someone come around and fuck with her? Ugh. The hilly road to the clinic, which I had never had difficulties with before, was now torturous. Big beads of sweat had formed on my brow, and at some point my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt, which I carried with me, was heavy and made it hard to walk. I considered leaving it, but I couldn't let it go. At least not while Sadako's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for the Irie clinic came into sight, but I quickly noticed something was odd, so I stopped. Several red revolving lights were flashing at the clinic. 3 police cars were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. There didn't need to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I planned to leave Sadako in the clinic waiting room and give the receptionist a message. With that police officer Oishi here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly.
What's going on? Why are there so many police cars?
I gently put Sadako down in the shade of the thicket. I don't know. I'll go see what happens, so you stay here for a moment.
Leaving a lady in a place like this, wearing nothing but a bath towel. So simply unforgivable.
If you can still fire off those insults, you'll be fine. I'll be right back, I added, getting to my feet. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind a car and got closer to the officers grouped at the clinic's entrance. I overheard an officer wearing a necktie, probably their leader, and a white-robed doctor having a discussion about something. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. One of those who Coach told to make the tea yesterday.
So, you were the first one to find it, since you were on morning duty. So then, what did it look like?
He was sitting on the sofa in the head office. He looked like he was taking a nap.
There was a jug and an empty bottle of sleep medication on his desk, so you immediately thought he had tried to commit suicide with it. What else?
His high temperature and dilated pupils indicated a severe disturbance of consciousness. Seemed like a typical case of sleeping pill poisoning, so I immediately began to treat him.
Without calling the police or an ambulance?
This is a hospital, and I'm a doctor. Since his life was in danger, it's my job to treat him at once.
Yes, I understand. Okay. What else?
Okay, maybe that's the one situation where you do just skip those steps and go right to that. When you are a doctor and already in a hospital.
What the fuck? Why are you asking me to call an ambulance and get a doctor? I am the ambulance.
Motherfucker, I am the ambulance. His breathing was in disarray, so I put him on a respirator. I also administered breathing stimulants. It had no effect, so I prepared a medical ventilator and,
Right. So, in other words, you did what you could, but it wasn't enough. That's it, right? You reported this as soon as he died?
Yes, it was very unfortunate that we were unable to save him. Just then, a radio in one of the police cars started to buzz, producing a broken mechanical voice.
This is HQ. Komiyama-san, can you hear me? Over.
Hello. Oh. You were doing Komiyama.
Oh. Hello, this is Komiyama. We've come up with something. It looks like he committed suicide with sleeping pills. No notes or anything.
Suicide? What the heck were they talking about? Someone had committed suicide at the clinic? But who? I wished Takano-san dead and she died the next day. And yesterday I wished Coach was dead. And then, could he have...
Did he use sleeping medication regularly?
Man, I don't really know.
Did he normally complain that he was tired or wanted to die?
Well, the Irie-sensei was normally so... well, himself. He never acted like that. So I was right. Irie-sensei. They were talking about Coach. Coach killed himself. Why would he do that? There couldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind was that I wanted him dead. This world was insane. If I wanted someone dead, they'd die. That was the kind of world that this was. Then what about Ooishi? What happened to him? People really died because I wanted them to, then something should have happened to him, too.
I've sent you backup. The chief wants you to leave the rest to them and get back to searching for Ooishi's car.
Yes, sir. Please excuse me then. Looks like we're getting relieved here, so please leave everything as it is right now. All right, let's go.
Ha!
Man, S group had an evening, huh? The officers nodded and split up into patrol cars. Did you just say searching for Ooishi's car? Searching for his car. That meant he had gone missing? Takano-san, Coach, and Ooishi. And I wished for it. The very next day, they disappeared. No matter how angry you were when you said you wished someone was dead, it didn't normally happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead, and that's why people could utter such curses so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. The time I hadn't even been walking, and yet, tap, I heard a footstep. And it wasn't only one this time. Tap, tap. They came from behind, and they stood right behind me, reaching a hand from my shoulder.
Do you mind telling me what's going on?
Oh, Sadako, don't scare me like that.
I'm the scared one here. I'd prefer it if you didn't shout so suddenly.
It was Sadako. Her eyes were still unstable and focused, but she seemed to at least walk on her own now. She looked far better now compared to her earlier exhausted state. How do you feel? Are you better?
My head still hurts, but I can't stay outside looking like this forever.
She gave a smile, a show of courage, but her legs were still shaky.
Anyway, what on earth is going on? I just heard the police talking about...
Coach apparently committed suicide.
Ah!
Sadako was at a loss for words. Her face grew paler and paler, and I could tell she was doubting her own ears.
Keiichi-san, is that true? I didn't mishear you?
That's what I heard. I said Irie-sensei killed himself with sleeping pills. Sadako went down on her knees and broke out in tears.
It can't be. Coach, he would never ever kill himself.
As I watched Sadako crying and crawling at the grass, I felt myself trapped by guilt and remorse. I got so angry that Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday, that he betrayed me, that I thought he'd be better off dead. Even Coach, who to me deserved to die, still must have had people who loved and respected him, like Sadako here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death, and it was granted. And now Sadako is crying hysterically as a result. The guilt tore at my heart. I worked myself up to murder for Sadako's sake. I decided I wanted Sadako to be happy. But was that really all it took? Murder meant taking someone's life, meant taking everyone attached to that person sad. In Sadako's uncle's case, of course, no one would be sad, but so I didn't feel a sense of guilt at all. But Coach's death was different. I had wanted to make Sadako happy, and that resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness upon her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my... Sadako still hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be a little calmer now. Wiping her tears, she stood up.
I'm
I'm sorry. The only thing I could think to say to her was an apology.
Why? Why are you apologizing?
Yesterday I got into a fight with Coach. I thought I wanted him to die. I wanted it so he really... Sadako looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Eventually, her expression softened as she interpreted my words in her own way.
It isn't your fault, Keiichi-san. Coach was an adult too. He felt like there was something he had to give his life for. And he chose to do so after a lot of worrying and suffering. It's not anyone's fault.
She smiled a little, trying to comfort me.
I do not want to be like this forever. I would like some clothing.
Are you okay? Shouldn't you get some at the clinic too?
I won't die from putting on clothes before going.
Sadako readjusted her bath towel and started back along the path. Her stride was wobbly and it didn't look like she'd recovered as much as she let on. Dude, no matter what she's up to, get her into the clinic first. At first, Sadako tried to go back home, but it was the time of the morning when people were going to school and work. So after seeing people walking around, she thought better of it. She must have been pretty embarrassed wearing only the towel.
I'm going to Rika's house. My clothes should be there. What's wrong, Keiichi-san?
Sadako noticed how I was hanging my head and spoke to me. So her clothes were already at Rika's house, huh? Okay.
Despite how he might have come off, Coach was an adult, all right? He would certainly not have killed himself after a petty fight with you, Keiichi-san. Please stop blaming yourself.
At first I thought it was a coincidence, but 3 people now, I couldn't discard the possibility. There was no such thing as impossible in this world. These past few days haven't made any sense at all.
What hasn't?
Sadako seemed to be having trouble breathing, but she still tried to listen to what I had to say. Dude! How are you at 80% making the right decisions here and then just flubbing that last 20%? Keiichi, commit to something. Difficulty level literally impossible.
I mean, he can commit to a good swing.
That's true.
The Watanagashi festival the day before last. You went home on the way there, right?
You have
What?
voices swap.
Oh. With the Tanagashi festival the day before last, you went home on the way there, right? And I went there and had a lot of fun.
So it would seem. I do apologize for getting so upset with you about it.
Sadako remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little. If I said I actually didn't go to the festival at all, would you believe me? Sadako looked at me confused. She couldn't help it, of course.
Of course I wouldn't believe you. What are you on about? That would be breaking kayfabe, Keiichi. We can't break kayfabe. It's the only way we get away with this, you idiot.
You wouldn't, right? I don't believe it either. I mean, I didn't go to the festival, but everyone's saying I hung out with them there. No one would believe it, right?
Are you being serious?
Yeah. Since the night of Watanagashi, everything's been messed up. These weird footsteps suddenly started following me everywhere. The blood drained from Sadako's expression.
Footsteps? Following you?
Yeah. Thought it was just my imagination at first, but they've stayed with me. They're probably still there. I can't tell them apart now because of your footsteps, though. Sadako took a long, hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't he after telling him all this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to endure the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless. On the day of Watanagashi, I didn't go. I was doing something else the whole time. I wasn't sleeping or unconscious or anything, so it's not possible that I walked to the festival half asleep and forgot about it afterwards.
Huh. Well, that's quite strange. And how were you at the festival, huh?
That's what I mean! I didn't go to the festival!
Keiichi, I know you're having a break right now, but I'm naked and also still really, not medically well. Can we side... You're a good friend, Keiichi, but can we sidebar this for the... Just real quick.
Can we talk about this at any other time?
Literally any
any time
We can
that's
have this
not right
conversation
now.
when I'm in the clinic. Okay, that's fine. You saved my life and I'm grateful, but I don't.
No, I can't let myself get emotional. If I get agitated now, that'd be like proving there's something wrong with my head. Sorry, well, no one believes me, so yeah.
Huh. That's what you say, Keiichi-san, then I'll believe you. And then what?
That night, I saw Takano-san, and it felt like she was looking down on me. So I made a wish. I made a wish that she would die.
Yeah, Takano-san does have that sort of air about her, doesn't she? Like, we all kind of tolerate her, I guess, but yeah, everyone just kind of low-key fucking hates her.
Except her boyfriend.
Except her boyfriend for some reason, and I'm not even convinced that he doesn't hate her too. I can't say that I don't understand how you feel.
Did you know that Takano-san died? It happened yesterday. Apparently she was burned alive somewhere.
Is that true? She died?
I wished for her to die, and the next day she was dead. And Oishi from the police too, do you know him? An annoying and fat detective guy? Sadako nodded a little. I heard from the police earlier, but apparently he went missing. Yesterday, actually, I wished that he would die.
Is this all true?
I'm not lying. I don't want to believe it either, but it's true. Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi, I wanted them dead, and they have all really died. For a little while, Sadako was at a loss. A long silence ensued.
Oh, what a scary story. I have heat stroke. I should be sure not to get on your bad side, Keiichi-san.
And that's not all. There's something even stranger. It's about your uncle.
I would rather you not talk about him.
He was there yesterday, right? At your house?
Could we please stop talking about him? I don't want to!
It's impossible. He couldn't have been there.
I said stop talking about him! No! No!
That man couldn't have been there after the night with Tanagashi because I...
No! No more, please, no more about that man!
I killed him with my own hands! Even the cicada stopped crying. Her face was streaked with tears and it stiffened even more as she looked at me in disbelief. On the night of the Watanagashi festival, I killed your uncle. It's impossible he could have gone back home. But still, he went back. And last night he found fault with the dinner you made him and yelled all sorts of things at you, basically boiled you in the bathtub, I assume. I am assuming all of this. It could have possibly have happened. I want to make sure I actually killed him, so yesterday I went to dig up the corpse I buried. The body wasn't there. Is that even possible? I killed him for sure, but there was no body. He went home like nothing happened to you, and it wasn't supposed to happen, was it? Sadako's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away like there was someone in front of her about to hurt her. You probably think I've gone a little crazy, don't you? It's not like I just smashed up your house with a hatchet. I don't blame you. I can't believe it myself.
Keiichi-san, I think you are very confused. After all the people you wished were dead, coincidentally died. You're just in shock at Coach's suicide and you're really upset. I think you should stay home from school today and rest. I will be fine. So please take care of yourself.
Sadako spoke like she understood me, but she also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face and knew that she didn't want to be around me anymore. Once I show you to the clinic, I'll go home. Your legs are still shaking, aren't they? Be terrible if you collapsed halfway there.
Really? I'm fine now. I do not want to keep exposing myself to a man any more than this.
She wobbled up the shrine steps, looking like she was about to fall. I immediately ran up to her and helped her stay on her feet. But then Sadako promptly jumped away from me. That outright rejection hurt a lot. When she got to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged, and she wasn't even looking at me. At this point, I was being ignored. It was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me. It really was a feeling of rejection, and that hurt my heart more than any blade could have. This was the path I chose for her sake. To be treated like this at the end of it all was just so saddening. Don't be naive, Keiichi Maebara. You never wanted to be repaid in the first place. You didn't do it so Sadako would thank you. You did it so Sadako would be happy. And that was what led to this ending. Rika-chan's house was a disaster. Prevention... That's not what I meant. Rika-chan's house was a disaster prevention storehouse used by the town council. Wait, this isn't her house. I thought this was another... Is this her house?
Seems...
No, because the disaster prevention storehouse was the other image we saw. Did they just update it?
I don't know.
He went past it a little further through the shrine grounds. Apparently, you'd reached the back of the assembly hall. Sadako was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet crunching as she went. Did she want to get there as soon as possible, or did she want to run away? I couldn't tell. And then I heard the vigorous sound of wings flapping. I turned around and saw a crow. I hadn't seen many crows since coming to Hinamizawa. I saw them a lot in my old town, though. On garbage day, they'd flock to trash collection points, peck through the bags of their beaks, drag out the contents, and have a feast. As I was remembering that, I saw a few crows flocking around the shrine's donation box, and I thought how terrible it was for someone to leave a garbage bag in a place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Even time came to a halt. I ran over to where the crows were flocking. I ran in there in order to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. I definitely hadn't wanted this. There's no way I would ever wish for this even by mistake. This was not! When they noticed my vicious approach, the crows all flapped upwards, fleeing to the sky. When the crows' big black bodies flew away, they exposed the garbage bag. What had I seen there? The scream escaped from my throat before I understood what I was looking at. What was this? Sadako came over as well, realizing something had happened. And then she looked over my shoulder, and then she screamed as well. This wasn't! The garbage bag was crimson, dyed in fresh blood. Enough of the stupid roundabout way of saying it. That's right. Yes, it was Rika-chan, our friend, Sadako's best friend. Always easygoing, clever as a cat, but so cute you couldn't hate her. Our friend Rika-chan, she was stark naked. She was face up, limbs sprawled, her eyes were like glass, just staring up into the sky. And Rika! Sadako, that's Rika! Sadako broke down crying on the spot, and yet she still couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gotten through the garbage bag and dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over. No, crows, they couldn't do this. On the spot, I started vomiting. The sour taste became a bitter one as I threw up over and over again. Rika-chan. Her stomach was cut wide open. Vertically, completely open! Rika! Crows couldn't have done this. From her open stomach, her organs, her bowels were dragged out. Like children's toys left all over the floor. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. Color left my vision. A pounding headache, dizzy, and I wanted to vomit. It was like the nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Someone, somewhere, had killed Rika-chan and brought her here. Laid her here with her limbs sprawled out and then cut open her stomach and dragged out her intestines. Red and pink viscera were sticking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black. A few of the crows had hopped around inside that ocean. They walked through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints. And those footprints were several still left on Rika-chan's body. Those sinister prints made it seem even more like a bizarre ritual killing. I may have wished for Takano-san, for Coach, for Oishi to die, but I didn't remember ever wishing for Rika-chan's death. It wasn't me. This wasn't me. It wasn't me! I stumbled backwards and then stepped on a newspaper. A newspaper in a place like this. The newspaper was what was covering my hatchet. I kept it wrapped up on my belt in order to carry Sadako. And that newspaper had fallen off. Don't scare me like that. I bent down to pick it up, and then Sadako looked at me with such disbelief that I'd never seen and froze. She was looking straight at me, at the hatchet, on my belt. Calm down, Sadako. This isn't what it looks like. Sadako, trembling madly, backed away. It wasn't me! It wasn't me! It wasn't... Murder! She didn't care at all that she was exposing herself through the towel. She just trembled and tried to step back from the demon in front of her. Sadako, please calm down. Please relax. Sadako! No! No! Screaming weakly, Sadako began to run unsteadily. Run away, that is. Wait, please wait, Sadako! You're wrong, that's not it! The way she ran away was so weak, so slow. So if I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I tried to grab her shoulder or something right now, she might actually go crazy. So I had to try to follow her and clear this up. You killed Takano-san! And Coach! And Oishi-san, didn't you? You killed my uncle, and then you killed Rika! You murderer! No, it wasn't me. I didn't kill her. What are you saying? You just said it yourself, did you not? You wanted them to die, and then everyone died, didn't they? Well, no, just wishing that they were dead. That couldn't. You don't even remember what you did to you. How could I ever trust a person like you? Didn't your memory of killing them just slip your mind? Maybe you're only pretending not to remember. Besides, what is the hatchet for? Try explaining that. It's for... See? Keiichi-san, you're a killer. You're a killer, aren't you? Why? Why did you do it? You were a little mean, but you were fun and kind, and even though you might have been my real needy. Why did you turn into this? I might have been able to slowly answer each one of her questions one at a time, but in this situation, explaining my innocence in such a short period of time was impossible. I didn't even know if I was really innocent anyway. And at the very least, I killed her uncle. There was no body, but I killed him, without a doubt. And at that point, I was far from innocent. And I wished Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi were dead. And that curse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano-san to die, I didn't think of it as anything more than a normal thing you'd say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually did die. I realized that if I wanted people to die, they would. And hoping it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Oishi to the same fate. So even ignoring Takano-san's death, Coach and Oishi's were completely premeditated crimes. Premediated crimes. Yeah,
that word is so hard. I always think premeditated. I learned...
It says premeditated.
It does. It does. Wait.
Premeditated, yeah.
Wait. I thought I learned just yesterday that it was actually premeditated.
I thought I was wrong about it. Was I a killer? Just like Sadako said?
Wait, it is premeditated.
That's fucked up.
Wait, so what did I see yesterday?
Yesterday was me thinking I had it wrong all along.
No, but I Googled it. Googled it and confirmed.
Then I have no idea. Was I unable to distinguish between illusion and reality? And turned into a demon without remembering it? Becoming a killer who carried out Oyashiro-sama's curse? That couldn't be. It was impossible. Oh, damn it. The very word impossible was impossible in Hinamizawa right now. How many freaking times have I said that word these past few days?
I failed at reading the Google results is what happened.
I see. Sadako had started crying again and was walking unsteadily. At first it felt like she was still running, but now it was like she was walking away, crying from someone bullying her. Why? Why did things turn out this way? Why? Ugh. There was an answer to that, then I wanted to know it too. Why? Why had it turned out like this?
After Nini went away, I was lonely for a long time, but then Keiichi-san transferred to our school and everyone was happy again. It was fun again. Every day was beautiful.
Yeah, she was right. Those days were bright and beautiful, and yet after that, Sadako and I shouted the exact same thing.
How did it turn out like this?
The cicadas were sneering at the spectacle, our strange game of tag. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Eventually I heard the murmuring of a stream. The forest parted and a suspension bridge appeared. Sadako was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall at any moment. And when I stepped onto the bridge, it swayed a lot, causing Sadako to stagger and fall on the spot. Sadako, are you alright?
Don't you come near me, you murderer!
Sadako shouted, her hatred made very clear. It was sad. If words could cut, then this warmth flowing from my eyes would have been blood for sure.
Why did you turn out this way? Keiichi-san, I really liked you.
I wanted to go up to her and give her a hand, but the distance between us was uncrossable. If I got any closer, Sadako would start shouting again and say things that would hurt me deeply again, so I couldn't approach any closer than this. Sadako, I don't know how things turned out like this either, but I can say this. I wasn't the one who killed Rika-chan. At least that much is true.
Stop being so absurd. How can you expect me to believe anything someone who can't even rely on his own memory has to say?
I tightened my hands into fists. This was mortifying. I wasn't crazy. Hinamizawa was crazy, ever since I wandered into it lost on that one night. This insane world where I was at the festival when I wasn't, and the uncle I killed was alive, where death would come just by wishing for it. It was this world's fault. Mion and Rena started acting strangely, like they were possessed by something too, and Coach wouldn't believe anything I had to say, and even Sadako, who I should have protected, was yelling at me like this. Was the price for killing a man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a bitter world? I did the right thing! At least I wanted to! So then, why? I hated it. Every time I asked why, these days Sadako and I enjoying peace went so wrong. Sadako, please believe me, I'm not a murderer.
Then what is that hatchet for? Can you give me a convincing explanation for that?
Is the hatchet scaring you? Okay, I'll throw it away. That's what you want, right? Sadako didn't nod, but she seemed to be in agreement with that proposition. I clumsily took the hatchet out of my belt, dropped it over the side of the bridge into the stream below. There, it's gone. Now you'll listen to me, right?
You think I'll let my guard down just because you got rid of your weapon? Keiichi-san, you're strong. It'd be so easy for you to strangle me with your bare hands.
Like hell I would ever want to kill Sadako. You idiot. Then what should I do? Should I put my hands on my head?
Yes. Why don't you? Put your hands on your head and face the other way.
It was a cunning plan, much like the one she used during club activities. Putting my hands on my head and turning away would mean I couldn't attack Sadako very easily. Immediately acquiesced to her request since it would make her feel better. Is this all right? Please listen to what I have to say. Sadako stood up, then carefully approached me from behind. And then she actually came up right behind me. She was so close, and yet I was so sad that I wasn't allowed to turn around.
I think I understand that it isn't your fault, Keiichi-san.
Huh?
I think probably you have just been possessed by something evil. Till before I thought Keiichi-san was a killer, but now I know. After looking at your eyes.
Could hear that Sadako was still crying, but her voice was gentle just the same.
Keiichi-san could never kill anyone. Something simply possessed his body and made him do evil things.
Was she speaking literally right now? Or was she trying to admonish me? I couldn't tell.
Come to think of it, maybe they were possessed, just like Keiichi-san. At the time, I was only thinking I would be killed, so I didn't think about it. But now I understand. It's the work of something evil. The work of something evil that possessed you.
Why did she think she would be killed? Why does Sadako think she was going to be killed?
I mean, if I saw my best friend's body chopped up and someone standing over it with an axe, I'd be pretty worried about being killed.
Sadako? What are you... It was less like she was talking to me and more like she was talking to herself. Like she was confessing at my back.
I understand, you know. Isn't like I haven't experienced it myself.
Sadako's voice became mixed with sobs. Her pained voice tore at my heart, but I didn't know what she was talking about.
I climbed to the top of the ritual storehouse once. It was a few years ago.
Once, when Sadako was playing hide and seek at the shrine grounds, she climbed onto the roof of the storehouse for ritual implements, which everyone said not to go near, and she hid. And then Sadako saw that she could get in through a window meant for ventilation. For Sadako, the word curse was plenty scary, but she was more curious about what was inside the unknown storehouse. She moved the grating on the window, which was already hanging off, slid her small body into it, and climbed down inside. It was too dark to see much, but after descending, she realized just how high up she'd been. Despite the darkness, she could see a few things around her thanks to the faint light coming in from the air window. And to her disappointment, it was just a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked up tight from the outside, and was made not to open from within. She would have to go back out through the ventilation window she'd come in from. But the window was high on the wall, and there was no way she'd be able to climb back up. She tried desperately not to cry and racked her brain thinking of a way to get up there. There were a lot of birdcage-looking things hanging by chains from the ceiling. She took the hanging chains and strung them alongside the wall. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to manage to climb up the ventilation window. There was nothing else she could do, so she had to try. And try she did. It was dark, and it was creepy, and she didn't want to stay there forever. The more she thought about that, the more she panicked. She climbed the bundle of chains. Sadako could hear the clinks and clangs of everything creaking under her weight. And then, just as her hand reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she'd used to stick the chains on the wall flew off, and Chance began to pull loudly and furiously every which way. Spurred on by the sounds behind her, she managed to get back onto the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the flailing bundle of chains, the other fixtures broke. And then one of the big bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with a huge noise. Underneath it was an image of Oyashiro-sama, his vessel, and the cage took off one of the arms, then trapped some of the other implements beneath it. It didn't take very long for her to grow scared of what she'd done. The deafening noise could be heard from the rest of the shrine grounds. A few other children heard it and gathered around, and of course Rika was one of them. And then Rika's father, the shrine's priest, with an angry look ran over. And then, as for what happened next, it was painful to remember. The only one who knew where Rika's parents kept the key to the ritual storehouse was Rika. So he scolded her, saying that this happened because Rika pulled a prank and hid me in there. When did we change from third to first? Never mind, I'm still doing this. And he was very angry and menacing. Just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back, took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something, and struck her with it several times. Joy! Mr. Furude, this is like the first thing we learn about you, and fuck you. Rika's words at the time. It wasn't me, I'm sorry, that pitiful voice. I still can't get it out of my head. I should have said it was me. I should have said so to save my best friend from that false accusation. Not being afraid of Rika's father's terrible temper. Rika gritted her teeth and cried at the crime she didn't remember doing. And ever since then, the world had been strange.
I know. I understand. This is Oyashiro-sama's curse. His judgment for messing up the ritual storehouse and forsaking my best friend.
She clearly doesn't hold you responsible for that because she's, lives with you and takes care of you and is your best friend in the whole fucking world.
Well, how does Oyashiro-sama feel about it?
That's a great question. Shiro-sama's curse.
My father and my mother, too. They vanished in that muddy stream. My mean aunt died, too, but then Nini, who loved me more than anyone, he ran away from home. And then Keiichi-san transferred in, and I thought I'd finally gotten my fun life back, but this time Keiichi-san was possessed, and even Rika got killed.
Ugh. There's something I heard once. Oyashiro-sama, when he really curses someone, doesn't kill them right away. He goes in the order of your closest friends, and after killing them all, he kills that person last. Oh, this is...
So Keiichi-san, the curse got you too? I'm sure that Rena-san and Miya-san will be cursed next. And then they'll all be killed. No more, no!
Calm down, Sadako, there's no curse. Nobody's trying to torment you. And when I turned around, I was thrust away with amazing force. Given my hands were awkwardly placed on my head, I couldn't take the fall and almost lost my balance. And I'd been pushed not into the bridge, but to the side. Toward the stream. No, this can't be happening! As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab a cord hanging from the bridge. And far below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. If I fell, it clearly wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was tilting under my body weight. My frail little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go. Sadako! Sadako! I didn't understand myself what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me? Was I asking her why she did this? Finally, everything came back into focus, and I saw Sadako. And I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. It was the first time I'd seen it. It was an expression of righteous anger, meant only for those who needed to die.
Die, you murderer! Give him back! Give back my Nini! Give back Rika and Mommy and Keiichi-san!
As she screamed, she jerked the bridge to and fro. She didn't have to do that, I was going to fall anyway.
I won't lose to the likes of you! I won't lose to some stupid curse! I will never lose to you! You took everyone, and I will never lose to you, not ever!
Sadako, please, just let me say one thing! I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to quell her agitation. I know that what I did isn't exactly praiseworthy. No, maybe I should have never done it at all, but I did it because I wanted you to be happy. Please, just believe that.
You! The very end. You're still pretending to be Keiichi-san.
Sadako didn't seem to have any more desire to listen to what I had to say. And for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic. I didn't do any of it so you would praise me. If it made you happy, that was all that mattered. We were nothing. Without your smile, we were nothing. So after I disappear, please smile. If you can get on with your new life by my dying, then please, just smile. Can you at least promise me that?
Stop speaking. Don't use his mouth like that. Fall down and die.
And those were the last words Sadako ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Sadako happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong? And what was the mistake I made? When did I make it? Was I the crazy one, or was it Hinamizawa? Even after all of this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was this eerie world that was crazy. This world I'd accidentally wandered into that one night. Because that fun world where I never doubted all the crazy times we had as a club would go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world wouldn't have ever ended with this, with Sadako pushing me to my death. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. I'd probably already disappeared. Yes, probably. On the night of Watanagashi. I'm sure that in the world I really belonged to, I had vanished that night and everyone else was worried. It was laughable that I'd taken this long to figure out that I wasn't around anymore. Ryushiro-sama's curse on the 5th year was Sadako's uncle dying and me disappearing. In the real world, Sadako had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance and valiantly trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were down to 4 people, the club would reopen, and they would have a good time without me, waiting for the day when I would come back. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't come back home. But this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Sadako's smile, and my duty as her Nini. And at this point, there will be no one left to torture you, because Satoshi and I, it took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying, toothy smile of yours, we wanted to see it one more time.
Huh.
My pain wasn't gentle or merciful. It was a sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. And what little compassion I had receded in the span of a moment. And now, I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Hinamizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic power to kill people whenever I wanted. If you'll still allow it, I'll wish for one last thing, though. The death of this very world, of this crazed Hinamizawa. So no one would ever again have to find themselves lost here again. Man, what the fuck?
So that went pretty different than most of the things we floated, huh?
Man, but I got the part right on about Sadako blaming herself.
Oh, yeah.
That part I got spot on. Granted, that one wasn't hard to call, but still.
You definitely floated the idea a couple times that Keiichi would end up killing Sadako.
Yeah.
But how the turns table.
How the turns have tabled. Research notes on Oyashiro-sama.
Oyashiro-sama. Nobody really knows what characters to use to write Oyashiro-sama. Knowing this is hard, partly because depending on the time period, he has been called with various titles, with subtle changes to his name, and nobody knows the real one. The only thing all time periods agree on is that the 4 syllables o, ya, shi, and ro are always used. There's a theory stating the shrine, or yashiro, dedicated to Oyashiro-sama itself became an object of worship, and that people began calling it Oyashiro-sama or Lord Honorable Shrine. But this doesn't make a bit of sense. I don't know whether this is related, but people say the Furude family, the most respected bloodline in terms of worshipping Oyashiro-sama, actually inherited his blood. And in the legend, the Furude family passes down. If for 8 generations in a row the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. If we go by this legend, the characters used for Oyashiro-sama's name should be O for honorable, Ya for 8, and Shiro for generation. These character assignments are simply something I've thought up. There is no way to verify it. If this is true, then Oyashiro-sama would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in several religions, so this isn't unusual. But a few of these religions call the second coming of their object of worship a day of judgment or something along those lines. And we must not forget, they mean it to be the end of the world. Rika Furude, pampered and loved dearly by the elderly folk in the village. The rumors say she is the 8th generation, and Oyashiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudes, but at the very least I can confirm that for the past 2 generations, the first child has been a girl. Rika Furude watches over Hinamizawa. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it once again create a hellish landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? A gruesome feast of the demons, who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were, who could only cry, scream, and run for their lives? What would that look like? Just imagining it is enough to make my heart pound with excitement.
Yeah, that fits. Yeah, that fits. Oh, and that's all the tips in Totara Goroshi, according to that achievement we just unlocked.
So,
Man! I'm going to need to think on this a lot more, because it sounds, again, like... Here's what I got going on.
yeah.
I think I have the beginnings of it correct. That Mion and Rena were trying to bring, like in Chapter 1, we're trying to bring Keiichi in on it, and Keiichi just can't let good enough be good enough. We are also getting a view at some of the other things that are going on in the background of this. In Keiichi, like in the previous chapter, assumes that all of the deaths have to be because of him. Because he sees a pattern. We also see Sadako using some of that on her own as well.
Seems like it.
Yeah, there's clearly an interaction Sadako had with someone that we don't know about, that she seems to be referencing. But that's also coloring her interpretation of events. So, I think what is more likely is that there are some other events going on that we do not have context for currently, or maybe we do and I haven't been able to suss it out, that would explain these other deaths. Because the answer is not Keiichi has psychic powers. Obviously. Obviously. But I'm going to be honest, this is a whole lot at once.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm doing my best, but unlike in Chapter 2 where I felt like I came out of it with like a solid theory, I'm just kind of floundering right now.
Are you, though? You've had all kinds of theories.
I've had all kinds of theories, but like I don't have any that I feel like good about.
Fair enough.
I feel like I have theories of necessity and less theories that feel like they actually are going to explain things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or like my theories are more like it can't possibly be this. It has to be something like this. But
That sounds a lot like Keiichi, huh?
Right? Right? But I don't have any good way to ground it yet, so I don't want to take them as factual. I think that's the difference is that I'm not going to just roll with that until I have a good reason to. But whatever. Are we done yet?
There's a button to click. Don't stop the recording.
What do you mean there's a button to click?
There's a continue button.
Yeah, do we want to end are we ending this episode?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Do you want me to do another chapter?
Sorry, I got the impression that you thought that it was already over.
No,
Okay.
God, no. No, God,
Okay,
no.
okay.
Yeah, no, don't worry. We'll see you all next time, I guess.
Peace.
This is the chapter that never ends.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.